never Tales from the Crypt, not just me. Okay, so why would you call? The obvious thing is little kids. And those of us who have children around, either children, grandchildren, neighbors, other relatives, we think of kids as the ones getting into trouble and needing the services of poison control. Paul's niece has triplets. They're very different from one another. I knew from birth which one was going to prompt the first call to poison control, and I was right. So we have this little kid crawling around on the floor. One of our toxicologists calls them environmental monitors. They will find stuff you never realized was there. It's amazing, their skill. They have one job in life, and that's learning how to do stuff. They're really good at what they do. So, what are they going to find under that chair? Well, crayons. Apparently eating crayons is a thing. There are things that I have no idea why they're on the internet. That's one of them. Anything that says Crayola is probably not much of a problem except for being a choking hazard. So those crayons, yeah, but you're going to be really shocked when you open the next diaper. And then we have, I tell Paul he's really blessed that we have no children because the clothes are so cute we'd be in the poorhouse. But in those little packages come these little packets of silica gel. And the little granules, we've all seen them. They say, do not eat. They're not really much of a problem. They're a choking hazard. They're labeled do not eat because they're not food. I tell people the adults get in trouble because they think they're kosher salt and they sprinkle it on their food, but but in the old days, those packets used to be labeled with a skull and crossbones. So of course people worry about them. That's not really a thing. They're not toxic. They're just a choking hazard. And then we have this little kid with what's on her finger? We all have in our house right now, a ladybug.
Ladybug.
A lazy little ladybug on her finger. So I got a call one morning and this lady said my 3-year-old just picked off a ladybug off the windowsill and ate it. And all I could think was, he's having a lot better day than the ladybug's having, but nonetheless, they're not a very big problem. but kids will find them. Kids also find Fluffy's dinner, or the remnants of Fluffy's dinner, which is, though gross, is usually not a huge problem either. And then, so I have the story portion. So once upon a time, I get a call from some parent in a hotel. They said, we just checked into the hotel, and our 18-month-old was crawling around on the floor, and he just came to us holding a pill.
Oh, great.
So, on the carpet in the hotel room. So what do you want to do?
Find out what it is.
Okay. So we can do that by looking at the numbers on the pill, sometimes. And sometimes they make it really easy, like this one that says aspirin.
Yeah.
Or this one that says bear. This is what we call a clue. However, not everything has a number. So this one on the top just has an E on it. Some things just have a letter. Sometimes they just have a symbol. And yes, we can identify these, believe it or not. But some things aren't required to be marked, like vitamins, for example. The next time you take your vitamins, look at them. Some of them, like one a day, usually has a mark on them. But you know, if you buy vitamin B12 or something, so they're not required to be labeled that way.
So if there's no mark on the pill, you're assuming it's not a problem?
No, not necessarily, because maybe you brought it from out of the country where the laws are different. So, unless you think this is a ridiculous story, Paul and I checked into a hotel room, and sure enough, on the carpet, between the nightstand and the bed, there was a pill on the floor.
Oh my goodness.
And so it can happen. I'm here to tell you. I was not happy with this particular hotel. So some of you might remember, this is the Namco pool chemical outlet fire from 2001. And so there was a fire. That cloud is partly smoke, but it's partly chlorine gas being released from the pool chemicals. So once upon a time, this young man decided that his bathroom was really, really, really dirty. And I'm just going to take his word for it. So he goes in to clean the toilet, and he puts in the toilet bowl cleaner. And then it's really dirty, so he's going to add some bleach. And made chlorine gas
Yeah.
in a little cloud above the water in the toilet bowl. And this is chlorine gas in a glass container so you can see the color of it. That's what he made. So toilet bowl cleaners usually have acid in them. If you mix acid and bleach, you make chlorine gas.
Nice.
Same stuff that was going up in the air in Chester during the pool company fire. And it can cause some pretty significant respiratory difficulty, especially in patients who have lung problems like asthma. So those are the folks we worry about. The rest of us, usually, if you get some fresh air, have something cold to drink, don't exert yourself, usually people will get better, but if you have lung problems, not so much. So a lot of things happen just sort of by accident. So you get up one night, you're not feeling good, you run to get some Pepto-Bismol, and maybe you didn't turn the lights on, maybe you didn't put your glasses on, maybe, you know, reach in and get the bottle of the pink stuff out of the cupboard. Well, there's a couple bottles of pink stuff in the cupboard. They look kind of a lot alike, don't they? If it was dark, or, you know, kind of dim light, it would be easy to mistake those for each other.
Yeah.
A lot of accidents happen. Now, this is looking pretty attractive to me, because I haven't had dinner. But get a call from a lady, 54-year-old lady, she's been on a medication for many, many years that has an interaction with one of the components in red wine, aged cheese, and cured meats, like bacon, for example. So, and she knows this, because she's been on this medication for a long time. But there's this really, really wonderful aged Gouda cheese that she really likes. And so she knows that she can have a little and not get any symptoms. Well, this one particular night, that aged Gouda was just so delicious, and she just had to have just a little more. So kind of an accident, but it's, you know, the I should have known better thing. So yeah. And so she discovered what Paracelsus, a famous physician from centuries ago, discovered, that poison is in everything. Nothing is without poison. The dosage makes it either a poison or a remedy. There is such a thing as water toxicity, so everything can be a poison in the right circumstances.
What were the woman's symptoms?
High blood pressure, headache. Really, really, really high blood pressure needing to be treated. So acutely high blood pressure. So it can be so bad as to cause somebody to have stroke. So she wasn't in that range because she only had a little more, but it can happen.
So in that case, you send her to the hospital?
She was already in the hospital when we got called.
Oh.
The hospital called us
Oh.
for treatment
There we go.
advice.
Move around a snake.
Yeah, oh, yes, so you know, if we get a call and they are that severe, immediately we call 911, you know, 'cause we're not,
That very calm, hang up with me, call 911. So, all right, so we have two venomous snakes in Connecticut. We have our timber rattlesnakes, and they can be in multiple places, but the concentrations of them are in the northwest corner, along from like Kent, Sharon, that area, up along the New York border, up to Massachusetts border, and there's a little bit of the Appalachian Trail that goes through right up in the corner there. And then along the Connecticut River, Glastonbury, Portland, that part of the world. And then the Copperheads, which can be anywhere. I got a call one day from a very nice man, and he asked if it was possible that there was a copperhead on his driveway in Avon. And I said, absolutely yes. And he said, oh, so I should bring my grandchildren in from outside? I said, absolutely yes.
You had to ask the poison control somebody that.
And there is treatment for these snake bites. And again, neither of these is a very aggressive snake, which is a good thing. They will bite if they feel threatened, but usually the bites that happen around here are either caused by someone bothering the snake, or you walked past it, didn't realize it was there, and got bit, through kind of nobody's fault. I got a call one night from a gentleman who went out on his patio, he had been stung by a bee, and it turned out it was a copperhead on his patio. And that was pretty uneventful, except that he brought the snake to the emergency room with him. And he really didn't understand why it was a problem, because he had killed it first, but the emergency department people were not happy.
Oh my gosh, I guess.
They got a verification.
So both of these snakes cause similar injury from their venom. And the purpose of venom is to immobilize and start to digest prey. And so the venom will cause tissue to sort of dissolve, and you can get this blistering, and you can see on the back of the index finger, there's a lot of bruising there. And it can also cause increased bleeding. It kind of consumes some of the factors in your blood that cause clotting. And from the snake's perspective, that's going to make the prey easier to digest. Other species of snakes that are not native to Connecticut have different characteristics of their venom, but both of the snakes here sort of have the same effect. There are anti-venom for both of these. We know where they are. We keep an inventory of which hospitals have anti-venom, so we often get called for treatment advice, and if the patient has gone to a hospital that doesn't have an anti-venom, where can we borrow a cup of anti-venom from the neighbors? So,
Kathy, is there a time concern after a snake bite?
yes, the sooner the better, because the longer you wait, the more tissue injury happens. So certainly, even if there is such a thing as a dry bite, where you can have a bite with no venom injected, but you would never have someone wait to see if they get symptoms, because it might take a while for symptoms to occur if you didn't get much venom, but you don't want to have the tissue injury, so we always refer people in for snake bite.
Who always has venom? Who always has, the antidote?
The hospitals in the areas where the snakes are most prevalent always have it, and many of the other hospitals have some. So we can always find you anti-venom if you need it. Now, we have other snakes in Connecticut, and they bite, but they don't inject venom. So the one on the left is a northern water snake, and these snakes do bite. They're not aggressive, but typically we'll get calls and somebody is on their boat and they dropped a piece of equipment in the water, they stick their hand in the water and they get bit. On the top is a hognose snake, and I think they're very cool. Snakes in general, if you have them in your garden, they eat things that are going to eat your garden, so they're kind of good to have around. But this particular snake is very cool, and if they're threatened, they have some defense mechanisms. One of them is to lie down and play dead, but the one that I find kind of endearing is they will pick their heads up and puff up like a cobra. Like the poster of the mouse with the eagle swooping down on it, and he's giving him the finger. So, and the other one on the bottom is an eastern milk snake, and they're just so pretty. But we get calls about all these snakes, and the hognose in particular, you can see that it's got kind of the same banding as the copperhead. They get mistaken for copperheads and killed sometimes, and the milk snake as well.
What is it called?
So this is
King Cobra.
what? This is a king cobra, yeah. They are not native to Connecticut.
Wow.
Thankfully.
For reasons that will never be clear to me, some people think that it's really cool to have exotic venomous
Yeah.
snakes.
Mhm.
So one night, very late at night, I got a call from an emergency department, and the emergency department physician was not happy, and he said, I got this guy coming in by ambulance, and he was bitten by his king cobra. I need king cobra antivenom. So we don't keep that in stock in Connecticut for obvious reasons. And usually the exotic snake venoms in the United States are maintained by the zoos that have those animals.
Right.
There is a sort of inventory of exotic snake venom that we have access to. At the time, it was not a very robust document. But we were able to track down some king cobra antivenom, and the decision was made that if the patient was stable, we were going to fly the patient to a snakebite treatment center. Otherwise, we were going to fly the antivenom to the patient. So I called back to find out how the patient's doing, and I get the same emergency physician, and he's a lot more calm than the first time I talked to him. He said, yep, the guy's here. Yeah, he's fine. He doesn't have a snake bite. He doesn't have a pet king cobra. he is high on PCP.
Oh, gosh.
Just PCP.
Which is, yeah,
He
PCP,
was high on PCP.
PCP.
Oh,
which
my-
is a hallucinogen.
Yeah, oh my
I
gosh,
know, you can't even make this stuff up.
no.
This is why it's so interesting.
Mushrooms.
So these are Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and we do have them around here. They're more commonly found in the red, like the top one, but they come in yellow also. And they are hallucinogenic mushrooms. And some people really like hallucinogenic mushrooms, so. You can buy them on the internet. This is AmanitaMuscariaShop.com. And as of today, you could buy 1 ounce of these mushrooms dried from their shop for 26.99 euros. And in today's dollars, that's $29.28. They were on sale from 32 euros or $34.71. So you can buy them and get high.
Did you stock up?
Pardon?
Did you stock up because there were?
No, I'm not into mushrooms, not my thing. So we get a call about a 25-year-old male, and he is very, very hallucinating a lot. And he was known to use Amanita muscaria, he liked that, and usually used it kind of reasonably, but this particular day he was very agitated and paranoid and seeing things that others in the room weren't seeing. And so it turns out that normally he smoked these mushrooms. This particular day he was having some personal problems, and rather than just using his usual amount of smoking, he made tea and he steeped it for a long time, so he just got a much larger dose than he was used to. So while we're on the topic of recreational misadventures, this is a little poster of Halloween candy that the DEA compiled. These are marijuana candies. And they have names like Butterfinger,
Yeah.
Butterfingers, and the packaging is very similar to legitimate products. It would be, you know, if you grab something quickly, you might not notice that it's not Reese's, it's Rasta Reese's. So recreational cannabis was just legalized in Connecticut, January 10th, became available for adult use. And so some additional products, my favorite, double stuffed Stonios, not Oreos, Stonios.
Oh my.
And on some of them, if you look at the 2 Dorito packages on the top right,
Yeah.
the only real difference is that little white square at the bottom left-hand side that says THC, little tiny square. So, again, and oh, and this, not the Sour Patch Kids, the Stony Patch Kids. So, and then,
Cookies.
so this is the rookie cookie. So it has a smaller amount than some cookies have. It has 10 milligrams of THC in the whole cookie. So if you're a rookie and you're starting out, you can have a whole cookie. This is not a rookie cookie. This has 100 milligrams of
Wow.
THC in it. It has 10 adult doses in one cookie.
Wow.
No normal human eats a tenth of a cookie.
No.
It's just not gonna happen. So I get the call one night, and this poor woman calls her husband, who's 33-year-old, really healthy guy, is in his room, and he doesn't want her to come in the room because she will make him freak out. Well, he's already freaking out. And he purchased a marijuana cookie and ate the whole thing. So if any of us were not like Bill Clinton, and we can't say we didn't inhale, we did inhale. If you're smoking marijuana, the effects are very quick. If you don't like the way you're feeling, you just stop smoking and it gets better. When you eat marijuana, it takes a lot longer to be absorbed, so it's very easy to just keep eating and get way ahead, and then when you start to have symptoms, you're way overindulged. And he was in the background as I'm talking to her, and he's screaming that he's going to die.
Oh gosh.
This is a call where you say, hang up with me, call 911. And this was somebody who was out of state, so we weren't able to follow up. I'm sure he did fine, but he was really beside himself.
Only has 6 calories.
Yeah, right?
I said only has 6 calories.
Yeah, I know, isn't that great? The nutritional information is so
Good
useful.
diet.
The serving size is 1/10 of a cookie though, so
Right.
it's really 60 calories if you eat the whole cookie.
If you ate the whole cookie, right, but the serving sizes, yeah, and I'm sure people read that stuff and get out there and really
Yeah.
and party it. So recently, edibles in Connecticut are a thing. We had a big hand in writing the regulations on how these things were gonna be packaged. And the first and the most important thing was they are required to be in child-resistant packages. Because children do not do well with cannabis. It's not unusual for a child to be exposed and wind up in an intensive care unit. They just don't do well. So this is what you can buy from this is from the dispensary in Newington, the Fine Fettle dispensary.
Right, they've been.
And this is their edibles that are legal in Connecticut. And you'll notice they're all, there's no little bears, there's no little animal shapes, there's no little Flintstones. They're designed to be, not be appealing to children. So they're all square, they can have a little bit of color for the different flavors, but they're kind of boring looking. And that's what you can get in Connecticut. And we shall see how the exposures play out as these things are more widely available. But you know, we have seen some kids get into this stuff, and we try to educate parents about safe use. Don't use in front of your kids. Don't call it candy. Keep it locked up. And we shall see. But what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Any questions?
Well,
What's
didn't we
the-
just have this past year, 2 children died because just a brief exposure to, I forget what it was,
Fentanyl.
meth or
It's fentanyl.
Probably
fentanyl. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it was like,
Fentanyl,
just
yeah.
they were practically in the same room and they died. It wasn't.
Fentanyl is so powerful that people who have used heroin for years now are using heroin that happens to have fentanyl in, and they're winding up dead.
Yeah.
It's just so sad. So call us early and often. We're friendly. We will help you, even if it's something that's not. We got a call the other day about somebody asking about what kind of herbicide they're using along the edge of the Merritt Parkway.
Wow.
And we
Yeah.
tracked it down, and so.
Huh.
Kathy, has there been any uptick in cannabis side effects with having it legal?
It's hard to say. It's only been a couple of months, so we don't have a great deal of data. There certainly are people who get in trouble because sometimes they add things like fentanyl to their cannabis. So there's a lot of issues out there, and probably by the fall, we'll have some data available for publication.
Right now, you know, again, it's,
So new.
I was on the committee that helped write the regulations. Right now, you know, last year you had 2 exposures, you know, now we have 4 exposures. Data-wise, that's a huge jump, but in reality, that's not a huge jump.
Yeah, not really enough to
Yes.
discern much from it.
Right, so it's too soon to see a big jump or a small jump.
And our regulations are different. A lot of that packaging came from Colorado, where
Yeah.
where marijuana products have been legal for a long time, and other states where the cat got out of the bag before they tried to write regulations to limit the appeal to children. So all those candy products would not fly in Connecticut, and our state attorney general is very interested in this. If he saw something like that, he'd be all over it. But one of the other things I wanted to mention is Bob mentioned our data being sent to a national database. The other piece of that, it's not just for having statistics, but there is a team of people whose job it is to look for unusual exposures or trends. So we do get contacted by them, so you had a so-and-so exposure recently, you wanna tell us a little more, is it a public health threat?
Yeah.
Or is it something that the FDA needs to get involved with, like the hand sanitizers that had wood alcohol in some of them that were imported from Mexico and China? And if someone were to drink them, and people do drink hand sanitizer as a source of alcohol sometimes, rather than having alcohol withdrawal. If you drink wood alcohol, it can cause blindness and it can kill you. So it was a big deal. We did have a couple of exposures, so we were involved with the FDA on that, so.
Like the mic.
Thank you all.
Well, thank you, it was very interesting.